All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hacking Self-Storage. So today we're going to talk about two different things. We're going to talk about my number one, my school community, which I cannot wait to tell you about. And number two, we're going to talk about why I think I've been a dipshit. But my mentors said, don't be stupid, you haven't. But I do feel really, really guilty. And we're going to get into that. The self-storage deal that I had, the acquisition on, I on due diligence. I pulled out, and I'm going to get into that. I'm not going to tell you any details that I shouldn't be or anything like that because it's not fair, it's not right. But I also don't want. Um, I always get imposter syndrome where I think, Jesus, I don't know, because I get loads of questions, people asking me loads of things, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm figuring it out like the rest of you, and so I never ever want to portray that I'm something I'm not. I don't want to pretend I have all the answers, and so when I met not when I mess up, but when I know that I feel bad because I know that I've upset somebody. I feel like I've let somebody down. But in my defense, it it wasn't a due diligence. It wasn't quite right. And I go back to Sean Perry's quote where he says, "Birds fly, um, sun rises, and deals fall through," or something like that. And it happens in life. But I hate to that person who pulls out. And it's not the 11th hour because we was mad, even though we was hoping to complete today as it happens. It was miles away because the due diligence was only just starting, and there was so much work that you're probably talking about 3 to 4 weeks of proper due diligence. But when we dipped our toe in, was like, whoa, the water's cold here. But yeah, so I don't ever want to say that. I don't ever want to get across like that. I don't upset or offend people because business is business, and sometimes you've got to do what's right for you, but it might not be right for somebody else, and it can sting for the other person. And I nearly went through the deal. I nearly went through the deal just because I didn't want to hurt this person because they're a great person. But I have found somebody else to take over because it is a good deal. It's just not a good deal for me. So I have found somebody else who is taking over the deal. So I do feel a little bit better. But well, not necessarily taking over the deal, looking at the deal because again, there's hurdles to jump over. So we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, right. I want to start off this podcast by asking something that you're grateful for. My mentor, Dan Bradbury, and I'm going to say friend. Let's chuck it out there. We're friends. We're buddies now, even though he didn't invite me to his wedding. Hashtag not bothered. That's why you didn't get a present, bud. Buddy. Anyway, and I think it was only because it was a very small event. Anyway, that was last year. Got to stop holding a grudge about it. I'm joking, Dan, by the way. Anyway, right. So when I talk to Dan, I talk to him every other week. And obviously we talk in between as well, but we have an hour meeting and I just talk about things in the business and ask him advice on certain things. But he always starts off by saying, Dean, what's your positive focus? And I love that because I've been talking to a couple of people at the minute and people that I know some people are a little bit down. And I feel like I'm very, very lucky that, don't get me wrong, do I get annoyed and grumpy? No, not really get grumpy, but do I get annoyed at things? Yeah, of course I do. But I do think it's because I do try to be grateful every single day. So we're going to start this podcast off by I want you guys and girls to think about one thing you're grateful for. It can be the weather, it can be the wind, it can be anything. Because I did ask this one person, I said, what are you grateful for? And they genuinely couldn't answer. In fact, they got emotional because they couldn't answer. They couldn't answer one thing they're grateful for because their head was that fuzzy. And the problem is, if you're not used to looking for things you're grateful for, then you will see the negative. It's like water. Water goes down the path of least resistance. So do your thoughts. And so if you don't check in with yourself, if you just go down that path and create momentum all the time and looking at negative, the biggest and brightest positive can hit you in the face and you won't be able to see it. And so what I try to do every single day is look at things that I'm grateful for. My kids, it could be the weather, my garden. I'm saying my garden because I can see my garden, and the wife sometimes. And so, yeah, just think of one thing, and I try to ask myself that all the way through the day. When I get annoyed at something, or just think, oh, I can't be asked to do that. Oh, I've got to do this. Think about one thing you're grateful for, because I can promise you right now, there is somebody right now in the world in a worse position than you. Okay, let's talk about school, the school community. As you know, If you don't know, I am opening my self-storage course again. And this will be the last time it's ever this price. I can absolutely fundamentally guarantee you. And by the way, head on over to mrselfstorage.com. It's on a daily newsletter where all the cool kids in self-storage hang out. Right, school. It's gonna be my course is being released on Tuesday the 1st of October, and it will close on Saturday the 5th of October. So a lot of this podcast for the next week or so will be me pitching the shit out of you guys. Because why? Because two reasons. One, I want to sell a course. I want to use that money to invest in self-storage. Simple as that. And number two, I know it can change people's lives. I know that it can help people open a self-storage. I know that it can change your self-storage business and it can increase revenue. I'm not practicing something I haven't done. We've been there, we've done it, we've maximized revenue, we've taken over sites, and we've increased their revenue. And we're going to do there's going to be a section on that course where I talk about Rexon and what we did to 14, I think it's 14 times profit and treble revenue. But we're going to go into, I'm going to do that course over the weekend and get it out there for you guys on Tuesday. That will be a bonus as well. But the big bonus, the big bonus inside the course that I am so excited for will be free access to the school self-storage community. The only way you can get access to this community is two ways. So the only two ways, way number one, buy the course. I'll grant you free access for 12 months to the course. Way number two, pay £297 every single month because that's going to be the cost. What is in the school community, I hear you ask? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Education. We'll be having one training session from me or another expert each and every single month with the main aim to increase your revenue and profit in self-storage. That's it. No, there's more than that, but that's education. So from me or another expert, a business expert, a self-storage expert, whoever it may be, somebody who can bring us, and I mean the collective us, me as well, value. We can learn from them. And if we just look at, I was thinking, well, I came up with a price $297. I was going to charge a lot more, and it will be a lot more. But whoever comes in at $297, if you'll be grandfathered in at that price forever. So, for example, this time next year, it will probably be around about 445. I'm thinking 445, 497, somewhere around there. But the people who bought my course, if you want to continue the membership in school, it will be still $297 for you guys because you're grandfathered in. And then I was thinking, right, how do I work out the price now? I looked at the SSA and I looked at what you get for the SSA. I can't remember how much it is, but they do trainings every single month where you've got to pay for it. And that's great. And there is value to it. There's no doubt about it. I pay for them all the time because why? I want to educate myself. And even if I don't learn anything in the training, I'm cool with that because there might be five times out of 10 where I think, oh, that's good. I can implement that in my business, and so I'm cool paying for it. And so I looked at what they're paying for and I'm thinking, wait a second, you don't get any community either. So that's the next thing you get inside school, the community, the ability to talk to other self-storage operators, other self-storage experts, because we'll have experts in there as well, willing to help you guys out. And I'm so excited about the power of the community. So if you want to talk about containers, guess what? There'll be a container supplier in there who can answer the question and give value. There'll be more than one. If you want to talk about cameras, CCTV, we'll make sure we've got experts in there, and it'll be invite only. We'll be inviting these specialists who I know and trust can help you. And so next week we'll make sure that for every aspect of your business, we can have somebody in there who can help out. CCTV cameras, we'll have Ant from DSOC or another company, whoever it may be, who can help and expand and give that information. We'll have fit out. So somebody from a self-storage fit out company can be in there and answering questions. And it won't be just, these people will not be paying to come in at all. So it's not as though, I'm saying to the highest bidder, come in, you can pitch to people. None of that. All we ask is to give value. Come into the group, give value, answer questions, because ultimately there's going to be questions in here that I can't or don't know the answer to. But the collective knowledge of the group will be able to help you. So I want everybody to be able to talk to every other member of the group, ask questions, give advice, receive advice. And guess what? We'll be having a scoreboard with prizes each month for the person who is most active. Incredible. I can't believe it. I don't know. I mean, once a year we might spend a day with me or whatever, a full day's training on your business or whatever it may be. Or there might be the top 10 in the year. What we'll do is we'll take them out for a day at Christmas time or something, and we'll go for a meal. We'll go to like, for example, we're going to the Cube as Stormore. I can't wait. So we'll do something like that. We can go karting. We can be a literally community. And there's maybe a time when I'm going to put on an event. I just think we can do events differently. I look at people like AJ Osborne in America who's doing events a little bit different. And so we can put on events as well for our community so we can meet in person. We want a real community feel. We want to help each other out because together, collectively, we are stronger, we are bigger, we are better. And ultimately, I want to get to a point where we can get discounts, me and you. So if we're ordering some containers or something, and if we're part of the group, guess what? Willbox might be able to give us a discount on each container because we're more powerful together. Because we're a group and we buy containers together as a group, then we might be able to get a discount. So we might be able to every month put in an order and say, right, okay, I'm putting an order in. If we order 10 containers, we get this much discount. If we order 20, 30, 40, 50, well, we get this much discount. And we can put it out to the group as well. Who else can we get containers from? Who else can we give a discount to? And so there's all things like that. Just we are together stronger. Collectively, we've got the buying power of a safe store, of a big yellow, because eventually there's going to be well in excess of 100 people in this community, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And the bigger the community, the more the compounded knowledge as well, the more the collective knowledge. And that's not all. Oh no, you think for 297 that'll be brilliant? Oh no. There's more. Ask me anything. Monthly questions and answers with me. Now, I get so many questions. I get, honestly, every single day, somebody asks me 15 minutes of my time. And the problem is, what do I normally do with that? I'm honored, firstly. I'm absolutely honored that somebody wants 15 minutes of my time. I'm like, oh, man. Imposter syndrome comes out. I'm like, I don't know. and then I think, well, I can't do it because I just can't. I don't have the time. I don't have a bandwidth. I've got friends and family who are trying to get in self-storage who will ring me all the time for self-storage advice. And I want to get round to them as well. And I'm thinking, I just can't do it. And so because I don't want to say no, I'm thinking, well, I'll try to squeeze it in. I don't normally get back to somebody. And I'm like, oh, that is the worst thing you can do. At least just reply and say, I can't because of this. But I feel bad for saying that, so I can't do it. But if I get all the questions in a Google Doc, which we're going to have, a Google Doc, then every single month I can come in and I can answer every single question that you have. And I'm like, yes. And then we can put it out to the community as well. We can put it there. And then what we can do as well, we can list all the questions that anyone's ever asked me at any point, and we can have a search bar. How to do price increases? Let's have a look. Oh, Dean's already answered that. There we go. Boom. And it's already there. There's a video timestamped for that exact question. And that is the power of AI. That is what we can do inside the community. And I put here monthly questions and answers, but it could be more regular, depending on how many questions we get. I ultimately want to serve. I want to be there for you guys. And so if I get like 10 questions in a week, guess what? I'll jump on. I'll answer the 10 questions. There could be a coffee hour where we sit down and we just chew the fat one morning. We just sit there and we just think, do you know what? I'm going to have a cup of coffee on Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:15 or whatever. And we just sit and we chat. We've got the ability in school to do that. And so it's going to be so powerful. I'm so excited. Yes, the course is amazing. Yes, the course has the power to change your life. But the school community is going to be absolutely incredible. So you can get it for two reasons, two routes, $297 a month. And by the way, all the tech that I have got, people are like, why are you charging? Well, two reasons. One, two reasons. One, obviously, I want to make money because I want more. I want to be able to invest in self-storage more. But two, it takes time. It takes opportunity costs for me to put all this together. The tech stack to be able to do this, the podcast, etc. At the minute, we lose money with the podcast. with how much time it takes and the cost and the editing and and by the way, there's not much editing as you can imagine, as you can see. I mean, if this is the edited version, Jesus. And so every now and again, I just say to Jojo, take that out. I've said something I shouldn't have done. Normally, it's like I've given something away where that's where we're looking, and I shouldn't have said it. So yeah, so there's a lot of text that goes into it. There's a lot of, and by the way, with that as well, it's normally the amount I spend every single year. I think last year it was over £100,000 on courses that I paid for myself, and so the better I get, the better I can save you guys as well. And so the more money we get together in this group, then I can go to a, a, a world expert and say, do you know what? Let me pay for an hour of your time. Put together a training from us, and we'll pay you whatever it is. Obviously, I'm sure that most people, or everybody in self-storage, will want to serve us, will want to help the group because it also self-promotes them as well, their services. So I'm sure that there'll be more people will be more than willing to help out inside the self-storage industry. But if we want to get who's the guy, the most hated salesman in England on LinkedIn, brilliant. In the UK, I think it is the most hated salesman in the UK. He is brilliant. He's more for cold calls. Well, I think he's more for cold calls, but his sales process is incredible. I sit there listening to him, watching him, and I take notes. Because do you know what somebody else said to me? Somebody else says, I was talking to somebody in self-storage the other day, and a couple of weeks ago, and they said, we cold call businesses. I'm like, no, you don't. Yeah, we do. I was like, I've never thought about that. I've never thought about cold calling businesses to get self-storage space. I'm like, I love that. And I'm like, oh, they're the things, because there's a site we're going to be opening. Hopefully, we're just waiting on planning. And if we open it, we're doing no PPC on it. No PPC at all. No Lara Mox. And the reason is we want to see if we can just guerrilla marketing. Can we fill this site with no PPC? Because the easy way to open a self-storage is to do PPC to fill a self-storage. But sometimes it's not the best way because, it might be the best way, but we don't know unless we test. So we're going to test a place and see if we can open with guerrilla marketing and get it filled. Right, so that's the school community. So if you want to join, then obviously I'll be talking shitloads about it this next week. And two people actually said to me last time I was selling the course, Dean, you're being too salesy. And I was like, I took that to heart. And by the way, these people, I absolutely love them. Obviously, I won't say who they are, but they said it with the best intentions. They said it because they care about me. And I'm like, do you know what? I really, really respect that. And I took probably half a day thinking about just going for a walk and just thinking, am I being too salesy? I spoke to a couple of people and I appreciate their advice. And I get where they're coming from 100%. But I don't agree with it because I give out all this free content, and for five days, every 3 months, I try to sell my product. I don't think that's bad. And by the way, I don't even like, to be honest, I don't like selling, but it's got, I mean, the tech stack alone to put together the course and all this is expensive. And I pay well in excess of 15, maybe over 20 grand a year to, well, it will be including the podcast. And so it needs to come from somewhere. And so I did think about it. I did take it on board, but I feel like that I've earned, it's like Gary Vee said, jab, 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 right hook. And this is my right hook, but I've jabbed for, say 90 days. Every 90 days, I jab for I right hook for 5 days. So what's that? 5% of the time that I'm jabbing. So I don't mind that. I think that's a good ratio. 5% of the time. It's supposed to be all the courses I'm in. You're supposed to give 3/4 value and 1/4 ask. And I don't do that. I give 95% value. So that's the other way: 75% value, 25% ask, and I give 95% value and 5% ask, which I feel comfortable for. So I feel comfortable this next week to sell the shit out of my course. Sorry, the gun is moving around. Right, okay, on to how I messed up. And so basically I was at heads of terms, did a great deal, and this guy had 2 other offers on that were higher than mine. But he chose mine because this is the bit that hurts. He said he knows, likes, and trusts me. I'm like, Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, and so he took a lower deal with me because I valued it differently to other people. Now, it is a great deal, is this acquisition, but it's just not a great deal for me. It's going to take up a lot of my time, and I full credit to DD, although I don't think he wants the credit. Uh, yeah, he did say to me, he did take a look at the site and just says, Dean, I agree with you. It will make money. Yes, it's a good deal, but what you've got to think about is the time it's going to take and taking you away from the other things in business. So, for example, I could probably open 3 sites and find 3 sites. Yes, it's starting from scratch, but I could find them sites in the time it would take for this site to this site to get it to be this is what Dave Davies deemed booty standard. You probably won't ever get there. And it's going to take a lot of time and money. And I've got to be proud of something, to walk around something and say, yeah, do you know what? This is mine. And this site, it's Dan Bradbury always says to me, no, I don't know if he says this quote, but this is what he means. Where there's muck, there's money. My dad always says that. Where there's muck, there's money. Where there's muck, there's opportunity. Where there's opportunity, there's a gold mine. And so Dan loves the container model because it's very simple. And there's not a lot of capital expense, but there's also no moat to get into it. And so you've got to be careful with containers, because anybody can open a container site. Not everybody can open an indoor site. So we just got to be mindful of that. So yes, going back to this site, it's fine. It fits a purpose for the purpose. But it fits a certain model. And the problem is it's not my model going forward. I want more Clough roads where it looks amazing from the roadside, and it would in my portfolio it would be completely different. It would just look out of place compared to every other site. And it's the time it would take Mark, it would take Angela, it would take me a lot of time, and it depends on what value you put on your time. And we're very lucky that we have got an expanding business, and we've got to be careful where we focus our attention on. And so, on a high level, it's just not right for us. On a lower level, I don't mean a lower level as in we're bigger than you. I mean on a low level when you're thinking about the returns, you're thinking, do you know what, the returns are great. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, and wow, I could easily double the profit on this site. And there was a pathway to that, but and I know I'm babbling on, but I feel really guilty that I pulled out. There was reasons why when we did our due diligence that we pulled out, but it wasn't it. I don't want, because some people listening to this will know where it is and know what site it was, and I don't want to put anybody off because it's just because it wasn't right for me. It doesn't mean it isn't right for somebody else. And I have passed it on to a friend of mine who is, I mean, he's in a completely different situation than me. He was my best man at my wedding. I asked 5 people, and 3 of them, 2 people said no to be best man. But I guess they were scared of speaking. So he was one of my best men at my wedding, and he has got multiple 6 figures in his bank. He's done very, very well for himself, let's say. And he wants, so he don't need a mortgage like me or a loan to do it. He can just do it. And so the fact that I've told my friend about it, which should tell you all that it isn't a bad deal. It's just a bad deal for me. It's not right for me. And like I say, I want to thank DD because I do think of myself as a positive person, but sometimes being a positive person, you miss out on things. You don't see things because you only see the good. You don't see the bad. And I'm not saying bad for everybody. It's just bad for me. I didn't see the amount of work I had to do because I did, but I overlooked it because I see the good. I see the good more than I see the bad. So I just ultimately I want to. No, I don't want to apologize. I have apologized to the guy for pulling out. But we saw different things in a due diligence that I wasn't aware of that it just changed what I saw and how I felt about it. It was just a lot more work than I anticipated. And if, like, my friend isn't bothered about getting it to a certain standard, he's just like, so it makes this and it's for that, and you can tell me how to make it a little bit more. I'm like, yeah, and so but he's not bothered about making it look any better because it doesn't matter to him. And so therefore, for him, it's a great deal because there's no work. There's no work because he's like, well, I am bothered how it looks, Dean. I just want a cash cow. I'm like, well, there you go then, mate. I am bothered how it looks, and so that's why it's not right for me, it's right for you. Anyway, I am babbling, but ultimately, I just want you guys to know that I get imposter syndrome all the time. And I was on the podcast the other day, and it was about course sales, and they said, Dean, why have you got the results that you've got? Because as you know, I've sold over £100,000 worth of a course. Why have you got the results that nobody else has got in the group? Because we've only got a small, at the time, we only had 300 people on the mailing list. And I think like overall 20% of my mailing list had bought the course, which he says, so how are you getting the results? And people with, 10 times the mailing list of you aren't getting the results. And I said that I feel like that people get held back by imposter syndrome. And I feel like people think they can't do it. And Henry Ford, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I've butchered that quote. But I do think everybody gets imposter syndrome. And so I want everyone to know that everybody gets imposter syndrome. Everybody thinks it's not good enough. Everybody has issues and problems. And they think other people's shit don't stink. My shit stinks. That's the wife and the kids. It definitely does. And so I just push forward. I do have imposter syndrome all the time. And so one thing I want to tell you is that sometimes I mess up, sometimes I make mistakes, and sometimes I don't see things in the correct light. And that's why I have mentors around me where they can help me see my blind spot. And by the way, I am absolutely shocking at getting, if the accountant asks me for an invoice or the accountant asks me to, Dean, you need to give me these statements. I'm like, oh, I'll do it later. And then I just never end up doing it. So I am crap at things like that. That's why we're employing somebody just to do things like that for me. So yeah, I do have imposter syndrome, and I know other people suffer from it as well and think that, I don't know, that you're not as good as other people. But don't forget, we're only seeing the very, very best version of people. When we see on LinkedIn, when we see at networking events, we're only seeing the best version of them, the version that everybody wants you to see. And I just want to say and come across sometimes that and show that I don't want to show my best version all the time because I want to be authentic. I want to tell you that I mess up. I want to tell you that I make mistakes. I want to tell you that I have imposter syndrome. I want to be completely open, honest. And Dave Davies said, Dean, stop being so hard on yourself. And remember that you are selling a course and you can't keep saying you make mistakes. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I don't want to be one of them people who just pretend that I do everything right, because I definitely don't. I definitely make tons of mistakes all the time. And if it means that I sell less courses, I don't give a shit, because I'd rather show up authentically me and not feel like a fraud coming on this podcast and saying, oh yeah, I do this and do that and do this and do that and everything works and way. No, it doesn't. I've told you before on this podcast, and I probably will tell it again because we're getting more and more listeners. I had a failed business, and I will go into it later. But honestly, every time I think about this, I do get a little bit emotional. I can even feel like I'm getting emotional now. But I genuinely thought, because the business wasn't doing very well, it was a restaurant. I genuinely thought, when I was driving my car, I remember exactly where I was. Why don't I just go to this cliff on the East Coast and just drive my car off? I thought my wife would be better off without me. I thought my kids would be better off without me. I thought, what a loser. Why do my kids want to be growing up with a loser as a dad like this? And it was a really, really, really horrible time for the restaurant. I was like 18 months of shit and losing money. I'm losing my dad money as well. And I was like, I'm nowhere near as good as I thought I was. And so, but I needed that. It was the best. At the time, it was the worst 18 months of my life. But now it's the best 18 months of my life because it made me go on a massive journey of self-discovery and paying mentors and courses and literally learning as much as I can. Without that 18 months, there's no way I'd be sat here right now. And so I'm massively grateful for it. So to recap, be grateful for something, because there's always something to be grateful for, but there's always equally something to be grateful for. And don't worry about imposter syndrome. Don't compare yourself to other people, because you are not comparing like for like. You are comparing exactly their best version to you. And you know your warts and all. And we all have warts somewhere. All right. And yeah, and the deal fell through. I don't regret the deal falling through because it wasn't right for me. I don't like the fact that it's upset people, and I feel bad for that. But I know it was the right decision for me. Anyway, that is it. That's a real open and honest chat with you guys, and get inside the community. Let's tell each other the what's and all stories. Right. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.